Today on Ian vs. Daddybones, we're talking about the Golden Hand Karate Man, Jitsu.
Oh boy, kids, we're gonna have fun today.
Yay! Hey! Alright!
How is everyone doing tonight?
Welcome back. It's another exciting episode of Ian vs. Daddybones. I'm Ian Daddybones. I'd like to welcome everybody to the show. Say what's up to all the YouTube subscribers. Special high five and a nut tap to all the Patreon subscribers. Throwing me $1 a month, maybe $5 a month. Why would they be paying me $5 a month? Because it is official. The Original Geeks podcast has returned to my life, and it is now available exclusively on the Patreon for all of the Patreon subscribers who wish to jump on board and get the max package for only $5 a month. That gives you all the bonus content for Ian vs. Daddybones. You get your name in the credits as a special high five and a thank you for helping make this show possible. And you also get at least 2 episodes a month of the Original Geeks podcast. And based on the way I've been knocking out content, you're probably getting at least 3 episodes a month. So I just started up the OGPC. It's officially live on the Patreon. The first 2 episodes are available. I talk about Ant-Man and the Wasp: Quantumania and talk about taking my son to the movies to see that. And on the second episode, I talk a little Super Mario Brothers movie in which I took Natalia to the theaters to see. So I give both my thoughts. I give my thoughts on both those movies on the first 2 episodes. So if you're currently a subscriber for $4 more a month, you get the Original Geeks podcast. And for everybody new, it's $5 a month. But the simplest way to show me support is subscribing for $1 a month. And if that's too much to ask for, then simply subscribe to the YouTube channel. When I make posts on social media, like that shit, share that shit, leave us a comment. Totally appreciate it. You're going to help me not only finger that algorithm, but I'm trying to stick my whole fucking fist up there. So seriously, I need your fucking help with this shit. But today on the show, we're going to be talking about another classic Masters of the Universe character who has graced my collection in not only Origins form, but I also have his Masterverse figure. And of course, I started the show off talking about who I'm going to be talking about, and that's Jitsu. So the Golden Hand Karate Man of Masters of the Universe. Now, I gotta say, I always thought Jitsu was a dope character, only because, like I back in the day with Masters of the Universe figures, like the line started in 1982. So as it went on from 1982 to 83 to 84, you had your, like, you know, if you look at it like the figures are released now in waves, basically it started off in the beginning just like Origins started off. You had your He-Man and Skeletor and your basic core good guys, your basic core bad guys, so your Evil Lyn and your Beastman and your Man-at-Arms and your Teela. They were already available in stores. They've been a while. They've been out for a while. Kids have them. The sales are still going through the fucking roof because it was such a cash cow with everybody buying Masters of the Universe. But at some point, there came a time to expand the line, add new characters, and over the course of 1983, 1984, 1985, you know, basically you had your second and third tier characters, you know what I mean, of your core classic characters came out in like 1983 and 1984, and then you had like the Evil Horde come out in like 1985, and then 1986 it was the Snake Men, and 1987 it was, you know, the movie characters and the fucking Death of the Toy line. But basically Jitsu was included in those early batch of new characters, you know, that included guys like Fisto and, you know, Stinkor and Mossman and whatnot, and Web Store and shit. And like I said, a lot of the Masters of the Universe characters back in the day, a lot of them were paired together based on similar action features or play gimmicks, like Battle Armor He-Man, Battle Armor Skeletor. They came out at right around the same time. You know what I mean? Stinkor and Mossman came out around the same time because they both were the characters that smelled and had sense, And when Jitsu came out right around the same time as Fisto, and because Fisto had the big silver metal hand, and Jitsu has the slightly oversized karate hand, all decked out in that vac metal gold, which has always looked super sick. And I can say I definitely remember having Jitsu as a kid, because I was more into when it came to like me. If I had to like, okay, Ian, it's gonna be your birthday this month, because it's June. Fucking here we are, first episode of June. By the way, it's my birthday this month, so if you want to subscribe to the Patreon, or if you want to scan that Cash App code, that would be fucking fresh. But basically, when like I was a kid and my parents were like, Ian, what would you like for your birthday? And I had a choice of like Masters of the Universe characters. I was definitely picking Jitsu and Fisto before I was picking Mossman and Stinkor, because I didn't really need a pine-smelling He-Man figure. Even though I had Mossman. It's just I wasn't going out of my way. He wasn't on my first to get list. But I just thought Jitsu always looked cool. And it's kind of weird. Like, I had like different stages of my life with like what I got introduced to as like boys' toys go, and like what I got into as like an 80s kid. So it's like I went from like half-naked barbarian, Masters of the Universe figures, jumping right into half-naked professional wrestling and whatnot. And then by the time I was like 8 going on 9, like I'd say I was always Masters of the Universe in wrestling, but I had a little period where I was like 7 to 8 years old where I was really into dinosaurs. You know what I mean? And, just like my parents' second marriage, eventually, like the dinosaurs, it went extinct. And by the time I was like 9, 10 years old was when Ninja Turtles was taking off and was like becoming super popular. So I basically went from like Masters of the Universe, professional wrestling, dinosaurs, Ninja Turtles. And so basically what I'm getting at is I wasn't too familiar exactly with ninjas, samurais, shogun, warriors, you know what I mean? Shit like that. I wasn't too familiar with anything Asian. At the time, it was considered appropriate to say Oriental, you know what I mean? But apparently even saying exotic is fucking offensive and whatnot. So I don't think I could say anything to describe anything from the other side of the country, you know what I mean, without offending anybody. But basically, like, I'm just gonna shoot from the hip, because like my first time, like, Jitsu was like the first Asian character I ever had, you know what I mean? Whether I was 5, 6 years old and not knowing the difference between Chinese or Japanese, you know what I mean? I just know that when I was a kid playing with my He-Man figures and watching wrestling, Jitsu, I always associated, if he was a wrestler, he'd probably be managed by Mr. Fuji. You know what I mean? And if you're going to disagree, leave it in the comments so I at least know you're interacting with the fucking show. But basically, Jitsu was like the first, like I said, Asian type character action figure that I had as a child. You know what I mean? Like, I wasn't playing, like, I didn't have G.I. Joes, so I wasn't like all about Storm Shadow and Snake Eyes and Quick Kick like other people were. But I do gotta say, as a Masters of the Universe fan, like, for, like, villains go and, like, side characters, I always thought Jitsu was absolutely sick. You know what I mean? And this Origins version of Jitsu is way more articulated. You know, he's got the 16 points of articulation. His knees bend. His calves rotate and turn. His ankles bend, and they also go side to side. You know, he doesn't have the action feature, so his waist doesn't snap back because there's no rubber band inside and spring. But you know, he still has, and plus two, now his karate hand, you know, his chopping hand can now turn, so you could have it at different angles. You know what I mean? Depending on how menacing or threatening you want him to look in his pose. I kind of like it because you know, like this Jitsu comes with the orange katana blade that his original character came in the 80s. But the cool thing is because of being able to bend the elbow, you know, there's a little extra bend to the arm with the shoulder joints and whatnot, and plus the wrists rotate. So he's actually able to hold his sword in a pose right here that he was never able to hold back in the day. Jitsu also comes with a mini comic for this new Origins line, so it's an updated story. And Jitsu was, I'm looking at this right now, I believe this was Wave 7. This was new for 2022, so these were the figures that came out at the end of last year, but it included the Sorceress, Buzz-Off, Stratos, and Jitsu. Well, let me rewind. Naked Stratos. It's basically, Stratos came out, Stratos the Birdman, he's always had like gray feathers, and this version of Stratos, this variant is naked skin tone feathers. But well, I got a Stratos episode coming months from now, probably July or August. I'm gonna be talking some Stratos. But basically, it's like, I'm looking at my timer off screen real quick. I got 3 minutes. But basically, the Sorceress is holding council, and Buzz-Off and He-Man and Stratos are like basically looking like some, like, you know, Star Trek, Tony Stark looking technology, where they're looking at a map of the surrounding area, and they see that and Jitsu's there trying to sneak his way in. Jitsu's up to some bullshit, and he just destroyed a lion statue for no fucking reason. But basically, Jitsu's on some bullshit, but He-Man and Buzz-Off and Stratos show up, and then they all get into a big, huge fight and shit. And Jitsu takes out Stratos and Buzz-Off, and it's just down to him and He-Man, and He-Man fight for a little bit. And long story short, He-Man kicks his ass. Jitsu is unsuccessful, and in his mission that he was trying to complete, he failed for the fucking day. You get an L on your head, sir. And that's that. So Jitsu's got his mini comic, like back in the day. That figure came with a mini comic, and you know, that's one thing I enjoy, is getting the mini comic with the figure. And it's pretty fucking dope, because it's definitely a really sick looking figure, a nice modern take on Jitsu, while at the same time keeping it simple, just like the classic vintage figure. And that's what it's all about, you know what I mean? It's paying homage to the classic 80s vintage line, where they're able to make some new changes without ruining things, even though a lot of people have been bitching and complaining because they took away the action features. But it makes sense to have the extra 16 points of articulation. That's fucking dope to me. Alright, we're back real quick. I had to do a quick edit. My timer expired. I had to restart that shit, but it's a good thing I took that quick 2-minute break when I did, because behind y'all, there's a door to the room that I'm filming in, and literally my 2-year-old came busting through that door wanting to see Dada, and she almost knocked over the ring cam, she almost knocked over the fucking camera, so it could have been a fucking disaster. And if that was a disaster, you wouldn't be watching this right now, because the footage would be fucking gone. But here I am back talking about Jitsu. Now, this Origins figure, absolutely sick. I can't complain about it. Jitsu was always one of my favorite characters to have in my toy box. with my Masters of the Universe characters. And considering Jitsu was one of the figures that was jacked back in the day, I'm really glad that I got this guy back in my collection because I think he's super fucking dope for what he is, for what he was supposed to be. And that's the thing. I never really had much of a background on Jitsu. He just existed, you know what I mean? And I don't even think with the purpose of the toy line, he was intentionally paired with Fisto. I think it was, hey, we're coming out with a good guy that happens to have an oversized hand. We might as well come out with a villain who had an oversized hand. And at the same time, those action features also go back to the Big Jim toy line from the 70s. And this is another example of Big Jim action features carrying over. And absolutely fucking sick. So, it's a nice way how, Masters of the Universe and Big Jim are kind of connected, but not officially, but they kind of are, just with the shared parts and action features and a lot of the shit that carried over. But Jitsu never really had much of a background to them, and like I said, I don't think their original intent was to pair the two characters as nemesis characters, you know what I mean? They weren't each other's rival. But I think a lot of the cross-sale packaging gave that impression because, Fisto had an oversized hand, Jitsu had an oversized hand. Jitsu was paired with Stridor at times, even though Stridor was released as a robotic horse to be ridden by anybody, like He-Man was riding him on the actual fucking packaging. But Fisto was usually associated with Stridor. And when they came out with a Evil Warriors bad guy version of Stridor called Night Stalker, Jitsu was usually the one piloting the Night Stalker, and if it wasn't Skeletor. So, Jitsu and Night Stalker, Fisto and Stridor, you know what I mean? Like another He-Man and Battle Cat, put together, and nobody takes responsibility for it. Not that they need to, but they've always been associated because of that, and I always thought that was dope. So I have my Masterverse Fisto opened. I opened him on the show episodes back, and now today I get to open up this Masterverse new attorney at Jitsu. But before I get to him, moving on from the origins. Jitsu. Jitsu did make an appearance in the Masters of the Universe Filmation cartoon in the 80s, only for some reason he was renamed Chopper, and he had a slightly different appearance, where the skin tone on this Jitsu figure, you know what I mean? It's like dark and tan to me, and Jitsu's skin tone in the cartoon series was more lighter. His hand was bigger, and I believe it was skin tone like the side like his hand. But Chopper and Jitsu, they're the same character, but they're the same character. There's just visual differences between the two. Just like with the Tongue Lasher figure and Tongue Lasher appearing in those Filmation Masters of the Universe series with Masters of the Universe, He-Man and the Masters of the Universe, and She-Ra and the Princess of Power. Tongue Lasher's different in cartoon form than he is as an action figure, and that always bothered me. But Chopper did get, Jitsu as Chopper did get a figure released after the Classics line through Super 7, I believe. I didn't collect Masters of the Universe Classics, but I do know that eventually they got the rights to make the Filmation characters into action figures, and I believe by the time that happened, Masters of the Universe Classics was wrapping up, and Super 7 was putting out the remainder of what they were putting out while they had the Masters of the Universe license before Mattel decided to put out Origins, Masterverse, and the Netflix animated He-Man and the Masters of the Universe toys. Now, this Jitsu, as I move this Jitsu and as I get Origins Jitsu and his mini comic out of the way, this new Eternia Jitsu. Now I gotta say, I got the figure. The figure was announced first, so the new Eternia Jitsu figure was announced and shown last year, and the Masters of the Universe Masterverse Dark Horse comic book series was announced later in the year, that came out earlier this year, that actually just wrapped up. I come to find out the Masters of the Universe Masterverse comic is in fact only 4 issues, which I think kind of sucks, but I know those 4 issues are being considered volume 1, so there may be a volume 2 of Masterverse comics coming out, but the figure came out first, so we're going to go based on the bio here, okay? The back of the Jitsu's box says, rescued from Point Dread prison by Prince Adam to aid in the search for the Isle of Grayskull, Jitsu, the mysterious man from Gratori, knows more about the legends than anyone in Eternos. Mistrusted as a thief, the master of martial arts shows his true colors, aligning with He-Man in the fight to protect Eternia and the universe. So, right off the bat, with the packaging, they're telling us that Jitsu is part of a race of people known as the Gratori. Now, it said rescued from Point Dread prison by Prince Adam to aid in the search for the Isle of Grayskull. Now, Point Dread is a rock in the Masters of the Universe Origins line and the Vintage line. Point Dread was always a rock. You know what I mean, like Command Center, Fortress, and at the time, and the Talon Fighter would be perched on top of Point Dread. The Talon Fighter was the blue, orange, and with in red bird-shaped flying ship from the back in the day vintage 80s line. So they're saying, so now in this universe, Point Dread is a prison. Now it says, mistrusted as a thief, the master of martial arts shows his true colors, aligning with He-Man in the fight to protect Eternia and the universe. Now, the other information about this that we have been given comes in the form of, let me get to it real quick. Let me wait for it to load. Let's see here. Issue number 2. All right. Right now, I'm going to pop this image up on the screen. And as you can see right there, it's issue number 2 of Masters of the Universe Masterverse Comics. There you see the Sorceress and Zodak with their split faces on the front. And front and center at the bottom, you have Battle Armor He-Man. Now, this issue, Zodak and the Sorceress are continuing their debate, where the Sorceress is trying to show Zodak that Adam He-Man is the right person to wield the power of Grayskull, and she's showing him that no matter what universe I show you, He-Man is always the one. But for some reason, Zodak's on his bullshit. He ain't buying it, and he's looking for there to be a failure. So this first half of issue number 2 starts off with her showing him a universe where it shows a ship at sea, like a a pirate ship, just a big voyage ship. It's called, what's it called? 18th day of the month of Miro, 80 clicks east of Lastport. It said the Dreadnought Marlena Glen is the name of the ship. Marlena Glen is Queen Marlena, Prince Adam's mother. And this ship has traveled farther than any ship in the Eternos Armada. And it shows Prince Adam wearing the battle armor. So it's Prince Adam enlisted in the Eternian army wearing his battle armor. But so at this point, he's not He-Man, but he's wearing the battle armor as Adam. So he's basically keeping a diary and writing it down on parchment. And he's talking about how he was in the far reaches near the hermit nation of Grottori, the king believes we may find a legendary artifact of untold power. An ancient item my uncle, the Vizier Keldor, calls the Power Sword. So in this universe, Randor is king. Keldor has not become Skeletor yet. And his position within the royal family is he's the king's royal vizier. Like Jafar was to the Sultan and Aladdin, Keldor is basically doing the same shit. Because as you read the comic, they basically show that Keldor is trying to influence the king at times. Now, Man-at-Arms, it goes back to the ship, the Marlena Glen. And Duncan shows up and he's like, Prince Adam. And Prince Adam says, on this vessel you will refer to me as General Adam, Captain Duncan. Yes, of course, General. So Adam is a general within the Eternian army, the Eternos army. He's wearing his battle armor. Man-at-Arms is right there with him on the ship. And Man-at-Arms is basically like, we should go talk to the prisoner. And then they show down in the ship. They show Jitsu with chains shackling his big gold hand, and Jitsu's basically locked up, and Man-at-Arms is like, rise and show respect, thief. And Jitsu's like, I would salute you as is customary in your land, but as you can see, my hand is not to be trusted. I can't salute you, General, because, you have my fucking chopping hand all chained up and shit. And Adam gets in his face and is like, I personally rescued you from the depths of Point Dread prison. Do not make me regret it. Well, if you wish to know if we are near the mythical Isle of Grayskull, tell me, Prince, did the Ninjo still dance in your wake? And Prince Adam's like, no, they turned away and swam into the sun just as I made my way to this hold. And Jitsu's like, they are afraid, hoping to keep the blackest shadows of the depths from swallowing their tails. You are surely close to Grayskull. Then all of a sudden there's the next panel just shows a big loud noise going down, and it looks like both Jitsu and General Adam, are knocked off their feet. And General Adam says, Goddess, did we strike land? And Jitsu says, no, fool, that was the cry of the sea. And basically, going back real quick, it says the Ninjo, Ningyo. In my head, when I read that for the first time, I'm like thinking like mer people, you know what I mean? Obviously, something swam away. Because it says to keep the shadows of the depths from swallowing their tails. So then all of a sudden, there was a great roar of the great guardian of the isle, Nagawani. And it's basically like a big green sea dragon comes out. So basically, if you're familiar with Marvel Comics, Fing Fang Foom just showed the fuck up and came out of the water and destroyed the ship. So now all the guards are like trying to fight this thing, and it looks like Adam and Jitsu are trapped in the ship's prison and or jail area. I don't sail. I don't know boat speak like that. I'm not a pirate. And Adam's like, you knew this would happen, didn't you, thief? And Jitsu's like, I know the legends this quest was doomed from the beginning. Leave my body to the sea that laps at the shores of my homeland. He's like, just let me fucking die. Flee while you can, princeling. And Adam's like, no! And then he takes his axe and he breaks Jitsu's chains. And then it shows Adam having now taken off the battle armor, has an unconscious Jitsu as he's bringing him to shore, and he says, damn you, Gretorian, you could have been so worthwhile you would risk a heavy damned abomination being fused to your wrist. Basically saying, you son of a bitch, you're so super heavy, I had to swim your ass to shore. It would have been a hell of a lot easier if you didn't have that big gold chopping hand on your fucking wrist. And it says, gold Krugers, a bejeweled blade, a tomb of dark wizardry. Goddess, we're here, the Isle. Inside that cavern is that which you seek, General. If you still desire it, take it now. Once the Nagawani has fed on her flesh, her hunger is insatiable. She comes for more. Or insatiable. She comes for more. For the good of Eternia, for Eternos. So it basically just shows Jitsu standing there on shore, keeping an eye over the water, watching this dragon go apeshit and destroy the Marlena Glen. And basically, Castle Grayskull is on an island in this universe. So Adam goes inside Castle Grayskull to get the power sword, and then it shows Jitsu standing outside as Castle Grayskull lights up with Adam saying, by the power of Grayskull, for the first time. And then Jitsu says, let's see here, Jitsu says, for Eternos, that noble land across the Sea of Harmony that the great explorer longed to see, so I learned the tongue and the salute that replaces the bow, memorized the legends of the great wars and greater heroes. I traveled the weeks over dark water and came to the capital city. My open arms were not met with an embrace. I was accused of being an outsider, a spy for the enemy nation, a practitioner of darkest magics. I was stripped of my refinements, driven to the streets, left with no welcome home, alone, afraid, hungry. And so I went to the market stall and stole a single apple. So you basically find out that Jitsu stole an apple like Aladdin, got arrested. So I'm just thinking in my head with like Keldor reminding me of Jafar, with the fact that Jitsu stole a single apple has me comparing him to Aladdin and whatnot with this story, so that's kind of interesting. So basically, it basically shows Keldor trying to fuck with the king and like get inside his mind and some bullshit, and now all of a sudden He-Man shows up with Jitsu, and he's like, nah, it ain't happening. But I'm gonna let y'all check out issue number 2 of Masterverse Comics, because it's really a super dope series. You can get the 4 issues individually, or you can wait until fall of this year and you can get the collected volume 1. And I highly recommend it. If you like digital comics, you can pre-order that shit or get these directly right off the Google Play store and under the books. Alright, I had to do a quick edit because I realized my scissors and my nail clippers that I usually need for unsnipping the plastic bindings, everything was over on the other side of the camera. I'm like, shit, I never brought that on the table. So let's open up this Jitsu, because honestly, I gotta get the hell out of here. It's Memorial Day, and since I'm at my in-laws' palatial palace, we got the family all here right now. So the kids are outside in the pool, having a good time swimming. My brother-in-law is here, his family's here, and everybody's here. My daughter's here, her boyfriend's here, having a dope time, and I'm up here talking to y'all because I fucking love y'all and I appreciate all y'all's support. So let's open up this Jitsu. Alright. I'm on a timer, dude. Need some food. Let's officially welcome the Golden Hand Karate Man to my Masterverse collection. Oh, for the love of piss. I don't know why I said that. I don't know anybody that really loves piss. Unless you're into that thing. I don't know. Lots of people have weird ass fetishes. There you go. Alright. Let's see. For starters, let's pop out his sword. There he goes. He's got an orange sword, just like the Origins and Vintage counterparts. Also, just like his, I believe, Masters of the Universe Classics figure. There we go. This plastic tray is all cracked as fuck. That probably happened in the shipping. But, let's see here. There we go. This is going to be interesting. And I like that too in the comic story. I like how they gave an official name to his race of people, the Grittori. He's a Gritorian. But there he goes. Jitsu. The Origins figures got the 16 points of articulation. The Masterverse figures have 30 points of articulation. So he's got the double knee joints, he's got the double elbow joints, he's got the swivel biceps, fucking ankle swivels, pivots, rotates, his freaking calf twists and turns. Now trying to get him to stand. Let's see here. Can I get this to... I wonder if I could get this figure to pose exactly like the Masterverse figure. Or the Origins. Now, my only complaint with the Masterverse figures is sometimes the hands are a pain in the ass when it comes to getting the weapons and accessories actually in there. I find myself sometimes needing to get a like a little piece of plastic, something straw shaped that's thin that I could like stick inside the hand to like make it a little bit wider. But yeah, for the most part, Jitsu's got his sword. There he goes. Now I will say it's kind of a pain in the ass to stand him up because with the way his furry pants are. Actually, you know what? Now that I think about it, now it shouldn't be a problem now. It was the way they had him posed inside the packaging. There he goes. Now he's standing a little bit better. There he goes. He's got the furry pants, but he's also got like the samurai armor going over his thigh down to his knee. Like that's obviously not there on the vintage Origins version of the figure, but that kind of hinders how much posability he has with how wide he could actually open his legs, spread his legs, move his legs in order to pose him. But something else I think's pretty neat with this character. Trying to think here. I'm not sure exactly. Do I need to go underneath or can it go over? Okay, it goes over. This Jitsu figure comes with a samurai mask. He comes with like a Shogun samurai style battle mask. And I just think it's a really nice touch, a nice little extra detail they did. Perhaps, like I said, like the whole thing with the new Eternia brand of Masters of the Universe, you know, Masterverse is it's modern designs based on classic concepts. So a lot of the original ideas that they had for Jitsu, Chopper, whatever his early name was going to originally be. Who knows what the fuck they were originally going to call him. But maybe one of the original designs for that character had that samurai battle armor. Maybe that version of the character had that battle mask. Now, I do know that in the Masters of the Universe Classics line, they put out a Jitsu figure. And I believe that Jitsu figure did come with a mask. But also, I believe when Ninjor came out, he actually came with a belt that was actually meant to be put with the Jitsu figure as an extra bonus. Which I think the little things like that are absolutely fucking amazing. You know what I mean? That extra little nod of love they give the fans. And it's kind of cool looking at Jitsu too with the way he has his armor on these figures. Like you have his original design with the way the gold and the red is on the on the vintage and Origins figure. But the Masterverse version of that figure of that same design has a lot more detail. Basically, he's got these like little swoops over on his like pecs, on his chest here, and I can see it looks more ornamental to me than it does bird-like, but here they can clearly, you see the bird, and it looks the beak and the eyes, and then on the back it kind of looks like a beetle or like a scarab. So I kind of, with that, so based on like the similarities I see with like Keldor, Skeletor, being like the Vizier, and with him showing street rat traits, it's kind of like the Gretori is like a cross between, you know, Middle Eastern and Asian in this universe. You know what I mean? It's like they took inspiration from two different races, you know, and even like characters, you know what I mean? Like you took like a samurai, you took Aladdin, you kind of combined the two, and I think that's kind of fucking neat. And you know, so it's like I had reading one comic book and reading the back of a box bio, I got more information, more origin background information on Jitsu going forward with him now being repurposed as a good guy instead of just being stereotyped as a villain, because I've heard it before. I've seen it in other videos where, you know, if you look closely at Jitsu, he does have like very stereotypical buck teeth that's usually been portrayed to offensive Asian stereotypes. And another reason why he was probably automatically labeled as a villain. And I mean, it's not right by any means, but back in the day, people did what they wanted, and you know, it was fucking fuck it. I can see where they changed it, you know, for the good going forward and whatnot, and get, you know, at least making the character more interesting. I don't know. It's so fucking weird. People get pissed off over the dumbest shit right now. You know what I mean? Like, you got that Little Mermaid remake that just fucking hit theaters, and all I've heard for the past year is how freaking a bunch of dudes are all pissed off over the skin color of an animated mermaid and losing their fucking shit. It's fucking hilarious. But I'm going to go ahead and I'm going to join the family downstairs for some barbecue because I'm fucking starving. Not only is it Memorial Day, but I've been up since 5 o'clock in the fucking morning. I already put in a shift at work, came home, did a high five to the kids and whatnot, did the family thing, and now I'm down here doing the family thing. But I'm up here recording an episode of Ian versus Daddybones, and it's kind of funny because honestly, I got an episode of the Original Geeks podcast film as soon as I'm done eating. So I will see you next time. Thank you very much for all of your fucking support. I seriously appreciate each and every one of you. I know who's sharing this shit. I know who's rooting for me. And I'm starting to make a list and check it twice of people who just don't seem to fucking care. So until then, cheers, Pete!
Epic Roast Guy. Roast Guy. Epic Roast Guy. Epic Roast Guy.